Two former Orange County, California police officers who falsified their reports by claiming that they found evidence that actually did not exist are now saying they didn't know that it was illegal to falsify these reports. They had no idea. They had no idea it was a bad idea to maybe like make up evidence that they didn't actually find. Apparently, they needed someone to sit them down and explain that to them. I guess I don't know that it's against the law to smoke weed in public. I didn't know that it was against the law to speed. I didn't know that it was against the law to punch a Nazi in the face, right? But that's not gonna save me if I get prosecuted for those things. But anyway, let me give you the details on what's going on with this story. Joseph Anthony Atkinson Jr., 39, and Bryce Richmond Simpson, 31, were accused of lying on their reports about booking evidence and pleaded guilty in June to a charge of willful omission to perform duty. Now, Atkinson and Simpson, considered the worst offenders in the department's evidence scandal, were allowed to plead guilty in June to a misdemeanor charge of willful omission to perform their official duty, and were given 1 year informal probation, which means no jail time, no community service, and no fine. That's because they apparently thought it was totally okay to lie in these documents and didn't know that it was against the law. So the special prosecutor in this case, Patrick O'Toole, and he certainly does sound like an O'Toole, told grand jurors that he gave the plea deal to Atkinson and Simpson partially because they had not been informed of the penal code section for lying on official reports.
Yeah. Okay, so the sheriff's department, by the way, said, yeah, of course they'd been informed. If you appear before O'Toole and you're a normal defendant who is not in law enforcement, please tell us if he winds up saying, well, I mean, Your Honor, they were not informed that grand theft auto was a crime. They also were not informed that armed robbery was a crime. So I just basically gave them probation and let them off. My guess is that prosecutor does not act that way when it is not law enforcement. When it's a regular citizen like you and me who he's supposed to be serving and protecting. So did the cops know that? But that's the hilarious part of the story, where the cops come in with a straight face and tell you, oh, we didn't know we weren't supposed to lie in the police reports. Just a few bad apples that are the problems with the cops, but we're not supposed to lie? Huh, nobody told us that. Everybody told us we lie all the time. But we're all good cops and good apples. I don't know who the bad apples are. I mean, this is absurd. But by the way, now the double irony is that they're not that wrong. There's a culture of policing where they tell them, oh yeah, lie on a regular occasion. Back up your fellow cops, even if they broke the law. It's called thin blue line. Who cares? And so they might not have been technically trained that way, but that culture does exist. And then part of that culture is, don't worry, the prosecutors will let you off. And that's kind of what happened here.
Yeah, it's just incredible, like what they get away with. And in this case, I mean, if you falsify documents, like let's say you're trying to get a loan, right? If you commit fraud and you lie in those documents, you can go to jail for that. Like that's a serious crime. But in the case of cops who are literally lying about evidence in their booking documents, which means it's like gonna impact people's lives, they could end up in prison, right? They can end up in prison. Oh, it's not a big deal. I mean, they just didn't know. They claim they didn't know, so it's totally fine. It's pathetic, it's sad, and I mean, I just don't buy the few bad apples thing, right? I mean, in this case, you have the prosecutor helping these guys out. I'm sorry, that is not an excuse. Everyone knows, even if you're not a cop, right? In any instance, a lie is a negative thing. Like you don't need your daddy to sit you down on his lap and explain to you like, now Timmy boy, lying is very bad. Don't do it, especially when you're falsifying evidence that could land people in prison. Like, are they that moronic and stupid? They didn't know it was against the law? Or in the very least, wrong. It's wrong to do in every instance.
Yeah, and Anna, that's why it's even more damning, because they can come in and tell people, yeah, we all lie all the time. Nobody told us it was wrong. So, well, then you don't get to say it's a few bad apples. You just don't get to say it. And look, guys, when you go into prosecute, of course, there's different levels. So if guys filled out the paperwork late and they lied about that, that's also wrong. But it's a different level of wrong, that you could have an administrative penalty for that, et cetera. And there's one guy who said there was a knife and meth when there was no knife and there was no meth. No, you should go to prison for that. If you're trying to take away somebody else's liberty by lying that they had done a criminal activity and that they were dangerous, I mean, that's outrageous. And so that's not, I didn't know we couldn't lie and make up evidence. I mean, we do that all the time around here, right, guys? No, if you do, then you should all be arrested. But of course, cops never get arrested, let alone any kind of penalty whatsoever for them. And that's why we have the out of control justice or injustice system that we have now, because we never held the cops accountable. And it's way past time to start doing that now.
I want to do a big thanks to our sponsor, Privacy. So what do? Well, you're going to buy something online and you fill in your credit card number. Wrong, you don't. What they do is they autofill a virtual credit card number for you. So if there's ever a data breach, they can't get your real credit card information. You're totally secure. So that's a great service to protect you and make sure you're safe online. And on top of that, if you go to privacy.com/TYT now, they actually throw in a free $5. So let's do it now.